Alright guys, so we said on our chapter 4 we're going to look at the workforce planning, right? That is where they are doing what? They are trying to predict the future employment need. They are trying to predict, although I'm not visible, but I'll try to explain it clearly here. This is where in the organization they are trying to predict for the future employment need by accessing the current candidate in the organization and the labor market that they are going to use. That means in the organization they are trying to do what? To access, because they can't predict the future of the organization without accessing the candidate from the organization, the current candidates, in order for them to predict the future employment need, and they need to access the internal labor market. Right. Okay, so we said another thing that we need to know here is my pen. We said another thing that we need to know here are the business activity that the company use in order to predict the future employment need, are the businesses that the company need in order for them to predict the future employment need. And then we said the first business that we are looking at, it is a seasonal forecast. Number 2, it is the interest rate. Number 3, it is the legal factors. Number 4, competitive. Still visible, okay. And then number 5, it will be others. So others, they are looking at the unemployment rate, either is increasing or decreasing, the disposable income, and then the buying of durable goods, and then the increase or decrease of consuming a product, or consumer spending. Consumer spending, how much the consumer spend. Consumer spending. Right, so these are the businesses that they're able to predict the future employment need in the organization by accessing, remember, the current candidates and the labor market in order to meet those needs. So what is the seasonal forecast? The seasonal forecast, that is where the company is using the contract. That is where they contract things. If you can remember, maybe someone is employee to do the contract of the 6-month contract, 1-year contract, or 2 years contract. Those are the seasonal businesses that they use in order to predict the future employment need of the organization. And then they are predicting with the interest rate. They are predicting again with the interest rate. That is where they borrow money. The company is borrowing money in order to be sustainable. So in the book they said the interest rate, if they borrow money a lot, or if the interest rate rise, right? If the interest rate rise, okay. If the interest rate if the interest rate rise, that means the product will decline. The product in the organization will decline. If they borrow money a lot, or if the interest rate rise, that means if they borrow money and then that money rises, the product value, it will decline in the organization, right? The product, it will decline in the organization. But if they, let's say they borrow money and then the interest rate decline, that means they can, in the organization, they can able to produce a lot of product. That means the product now will increase. Remember that employees, when they are producing the product, they are expectations of them to be satisfied. That means they need to get paid here their income. So if the product here decline, that means the employee demand, it will also decline. The employee demand, it will also decline. The employee demand, it will also decline. Remember, if the company borrow the money and then the interest rate does not rise, and then the product will go up. The interest rate decrease, the product increase. Then the employee demand here, if the product increase, that means the employee demand here, it will also increase. That means employee, they can get their money here. And then legal factors, that is where we look at the benefit that they give in the company. Maybe if the employees in the organization, they require maybe a lot of benefits. If you can still remember that in the organization, the employee need to be safety, need to be take care of their health, and then need insurance. On legal demand, on legal factors, we are looking at those things. The safety act, or the safety policies that can try to assist the employees, and then the health insurance, or the death insurance on the employee. So if employees, they require all these things at the same time, but the company if the company doesn't have that much money to support to support with the legal factors, if the company does not have much money to assist with all these things on employee in the organization, that means the prediction of the future employment need, it will do what? It won't be successful in the company. right? So here we are predicting our business with the competitive. We said our competitive, it is what? Our competitive are those businesses that the company is trying to compete with. Are those businesses that the company is trying to compete with. So if there is not a lot of competition in the company, that means their prediction of future employment need, it will be successful. But if they are trying to compete with the other organization but they fail, that means their future employment need, it will decline, right? And then looking at others, right? Looking at others, we said we are going to look at the increase or the decrease of the unemployment rate. So others, it is a decrease or decrease of the unemployment rate. It means, for example, it means if the unemployment rate increases, that means the predicting future employment need, it will be needed in the future. But if the unemployment rate decreases, that means, right, people they got work. That means many people they got work, right? They are being hired and then they got jobs, right? That means they can even predict their future employment need by doing so. It will depend on the vision of the company. Either is it a short goal or a long-term goal. And then we said the disposable, we can predict the future employment need of the company by looking at the increase or the decrease of the disposable income. What is that? The disposable income, it is the disposable income, my camera, okay. The disposable income, we said it is the money that's left after spending. Let's say you are the NSFAS student, right? Or you are the worker. So you start by saving the money, and then the money that is left over, that is the disposable income. So in the organization, they use that chance to predict the future employment need. And then how much customers do they buy the durable goods? Durable goods such as table, such as washing machine, are those goods or are those products that they last long for the customer? Right, and then they can predict the future employment need. Let's say by consumer spending. If the consumers spend so much money buying the product, that means in the future employment need, they can able to do what, to create more job opportunities in the future if there is a lot of consuming a product in that company, right? So let us go on our internal forecast. Okay. Let us go on our internal forecast tool. I just want to show you this thing, guys. Yeah, even though, yeah, I just want to show you this thing that you must able to remember. SS triple T, REJ, that means reject. SSS triple T, and then reject. In this way, this is the internal focus tool that we use to check or to assess the internal candidate. S stands for number one, then S stands for Number one, staffing ratio. What is staffing ratio? Staffing ratio, it is the technique or the mathematical way that is being used in the organization to measure the number of employees that would be needed in order to achieve their goal. It is the mathematical way, staffing ratio, it is the mathematical way of calculating the number of employees in the organization that would be needed in order to produce a certain number of income. Here we are using the mathematical way, staffing ratio. It is the mathematical way of calculating the number of employees that will be needed in order to produce a certain income in the organization. Right. So here we are using the mathematical way of calculating the number of employees that will be needed in order to produce a certain number of income. And then another is, we said it is the what? The scatter plot. Scatter plot. If you remember very well, a scatter plot, it is like this. A scatter plot, it is like that, right? Show you very well. Yes, it is like that. Right, so what is scatter plot? Scatter plot is a graph, as you see, is a graph that is used to measure two different variables. Is a graph that is used to measure two different variables. Yeah, maybe let's say we are measuring the employee with the performance, or the employee with the skill ability, etc. and etc. Right, and then for T, trend analysis. Trend analysis. Trend analysis you can use it that is where they are looking at the previous performance trend. That is where in the organization they are looking at the previous performance in order to predict the future not employment, the future performance. And then we are going to look at the transaction analysis. What is transaction analysis? Transaction analysis, it is where they analyze the internal labor market and predict the internal labor supply. It is a quantitative tool analyze internal labor market and predict quantitative. Remember, quantitative, that means they are using statistics, they are using numbers, they are calculating the internal labor market and predicting the internal labor supply and predicting the internal labor supply. Yes. So, and then for R, it is the replacement check. It is for the replacement chat. Here they are checking what? That it is summarized the present performance. It summarizes the present performance. The development and the promotion. Replacement chart, it is used to summarize the present performance, the development and the promotion of employment needs. Right? And then we set it is the, in order for them to check the future of the internal candidates, they need to ask with survey in the organization. They need to use employee survey. This one is easy. And then J, that means it is the judgmental forecast. What do we mean by that? Okay, let me reduce my camera. Judgmental forecast. Here we know that we have the top, down, judgment. This is where we are using the perceptions and the knowledge of the what? Of the top. Okay. Yeah, of the top management. Right, in order to predict the internal forecast tool. That means we are using the thought or the knowledge and the skills of the top management because they have the experience about the company. They know what is going on in the company. So it will help us to predict the internal forecast tool, the internal future employment need, remember. So here we move to bottom up judgment. It is the same. Here we use the supervisor's knowledge in order to predict the what? The future employment need of the organization. Right. So another thing, you need to know how to deal with the excessive or the what? Or the shortage of talent in the organization. You need to know how to deal with the excessive or the shortage of talent in the organization. You know, if we say the shortage of talent in the organization, you must know that talent, there are poor talent that is there in the organization. So the first thing that the company needs to do is to hire new employees. If they can't hire the new employees, the only thing that they can do is to train the current employees in the organization if there is a shortage of talent that they need. But remember, if there is a change in the organization, maybe if there is a change in the organization, there is a new technology. There's a new technology and there's a shortage of talent. Obviously, they need to recruit new talent. People who can able to use this new technology, right? That means they need to recruit new talent, right? How to deal. And then another thing here we are going to use, or we can use my freelancers. Freelancers are people who are having experience about the certain job, and then they are private people. Those are the private people who like assist many organizations. Freelancers are people who assist many organizations by supplying with their skills, so that in the organization there will be no shortage of talent, right? Or contractors. These are the people that they just use. Maybe here is a company that need to be sorted for the shortage of talent. They can able to assist, and then they can able to assist another one at the same time. They assist many companies with their skills at the same time. But contractors are the same, are the people who have a job knowledge in order to assist with the shortage of talent. But this one, they only focus on one organization per year or per that certain amount. And then how to deal with the excessive talent in the organization. With the excessive talent in the organization. Downsizing, number one. That means we need to downsize the employee. if there's the excessive talent in the organization, that means we need to do the downsizement, right? Downsizing. Oh, we don't need to hire anymore. No hiring anymore. And then number 3, in order how to deal with the excessive talent, you know those people who are doing night shift. That means we can deal with the excessive of talent in the organization. They use night shift. Maybe someone will go to work on 6 a.m. up until maybe let's say 4 p.m. and then another one will take from 4 p.m. up until 12 a.m. in the morning. That is the night shift. Yeah, that's all you need to know in these chapters. Yeah, guys, hope you will understand this